Hi everyone, this is Sheila Butler with Successful Women Talk, and I want to say thanks for tuning in for today's episode. We have a very special guest, Bridgette Deplantis. We're going to talk on today's episode. We talk mommy blogging, blogging in general, building a business, how to do that, run a family, etc. Very interesting conversation with Bridgette. Don't forget to check out our website at www.successfulwomentalk.com. Leave us a comment about the interview, and don't forget to sign up for our email list. You'll get updates, interviews, etc. to your inbox directly there, and we'll keep you posted on what's going on. Thanks again, and check out today's interview. Hi everybody, this is Sheila Butler with Successful Women Talk, and I want to thank you for joining us today. We have a very special guest, Bridgette Deplantis. Now, Bridgette is the creator, writer, and mastermind behind the Experimental Mommy. She's also the co-founder of Double Duty Divas and the Reviewers Blog Retreat. So we're going to welcome Bridgette and get a little bit more information about her and her background. So welcome, Bridgette.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for joining us, joining us. I learned about you from your business partner, Shelia. She couldn't say enough amazing things about you. So I said we have to have her on. And so I appreciate you taking the time.
No problem. She's amazing.
We interviewed her. She was really fun as well.
I'm blessed to have such a great business partner.
It's a nice thing, isn't it?
Yes.
Well, let me ask you this. I'm going to start off with the question I usually ask everyone, which is tell us a little bit more about yourself, your background, and how you got started in business.
Sure. When I was pregnant with my daughter, I was an avid shopper and kind of took to the internet to research all the strollers and the best diapers, the best crib, and what I needed. I'm a planner by nature and wanted to have everything just laid out exactly the way I needed it before she was born. In doing my research, I found a bunch of mom blogs online, which actually were really great for me because it showed the products much more than, say, a review on Amazon or Best Buy or at JCPenney, but it showed actual moms using the product, and I got to see how it worked for them and how it worked in their home, and that was I loved seeing exactly how it worked in their house before I bought something. I also had friends that had mom blogs at the time, and I started to read theirs, and they kind of encouraged me to start one too. So just decided to take the leap, and when my daughter was born, I started blogging about our family experiences in order to keep our family kind of updated on what was going on, and also I started talking about the products that we have and that we like to use in our home, and it really took off from there. After about 6 months, I would say some brands started to notice what I was doing and kind of wanted to send us things for my daughter and I to test out, and it really just grew from there.
That's amazing. So were you always a good writer? So like you just started this blog and like it took forever for my family to convince me to do Facebook. So your friends convinced you to start blogging. That's a lot of writing. Was it just natural for you or what?
I've always liked writing. Back in high school, I was on the newspaper staff, and I really liked the English classes. However, I was really drawn towards the sciences. So I went to college for biology and have been a lab technician for the past 17 years. And so I have a very logical brain. I like to figure things out, take things apart, and see how they work. But I also like to do the writing as well. But the job that I was in doesn't really allow for that. I didn't do a whole lot of writing where I was at. So the blog kind of gave me an outlet to be more creative and to use that side of my brain too. So it really was fun to have that hobby at night, but to have like a very logical job during the day.
I love that. How hard was it for you to get started and get traction?
I had a lot of friends support at the time, other bloggers that were kind of teaching me what to do, and to get the traffic. So that really worked really well. I would say after about 6 months or so, I had built a decent readership, where, I had started to feel like I had a real responsibility to my readers, and the brand started to come, at that point.
Now, okay, so you started out, as your child grew and then you ended up having another child, did you find that your product base that you were reviewing was growing with the age of the child? So like you're no longer at strollers and maybe you're at potty training devices or whatever. Did you find that growing as well?
Absolutely. So I have 2 girls, so most of the things on my site are for girls. So I ended up bringing in a childhood friend of mine who has a boy,
There you
And
go.
so when companies come and they want to send me a boy product, my girls probably aren't going to love a scooter or a bow and arrow or, something like that. So those type things go to her. And now I also brought in my cousin. My youngest is now 4 years old. So my cousin recently had a baby. So I brought her in as a guest writer as well. And so she'll take on all of the infant products because I still want to have a wide range of things for people to search my site for. I want to stick with the latest stroller, even though I don't need it at my house and would have a hard time testing that. I do have writers on staff, I guess you would say, that help me with those things.
That is, and I think that's incredible advice because, when I started I had a previous wholesale furniture company, and then when I left, sold that part of the business, then I started a company called Me Giant, which is a kids-based business. We mainly right now we have a lot of kids creepers and t-shirts, and I was going to introduce a line of furniture and decor and wall art, etc. But everybody was like, what are you going to do? Because you're interested in that now because you have toddlers. But what happens when they're teenagers? Are you going to continue to want to develop products for toddlers, which was going to be the niche that I was going for? So I think it's great that you've brought other people on.
Right. I definitely want the readers to keep coming back for what they're interested in as well. So if I bring on people, that can test those products, that's really perfect. And they're two women that are fabulous writers and that I trust, and my readers are starting to really love their stories as well.
That's terrific. So what about, like, with Me Giant, I did some blog reviews. I actually sent some things for review and giveaways, and that business seems to be really growing. Mm-hmm. And some of those bloggers are really professional looking bloggers, and sometimes I would get inquiries from some that were a little skeptical. Right. So how do you kind of put yourself out there? Because I think you and Cecilia, Cool Baby Kid, same thing. How do you separate from the noise?
I really think your reputation precedes you. Because we've been doing this now for about 4 years, brands have come to know what to expect when they work with us. And, you have to meet your deadlines. You need to do what you say you're going to do. Follow-ups are very important. And it's all about the relationship. I really enjoy having actual relationships with the PR reps and the brands. And they'll keep coming back to you, if they need something else. Cecilia and I started the Double Duty Divas back in 2008, or 2009, I'm sorry. And we started a network just so that other mom bloggers could get to know each other and to start really promoting each other's sites. In that time, brands also started to notice that we had a large group of mom bloggers, and it kind of grew into a consulting company as well. So we had to start weeding through the bloggers that were in our network to see which ones we felt were good, that would connect with brands well, which ones would align with brands in order to meet the goals of both. So we actually had to do sort of that process as well. So we kind of acted as a brand almost to try to weed through and find out which bloggers were the ones that we needed.
That makes a lot of sense. And that's actually kind of encouraging as well. Well, let me ask you this. So when I first started with Me Giant, when my previous history was all offline, and with Me Giant, I decided to go online, which is a whole different world to me. What I have found, it's still all about networking and relationships, which is awesome, yeah. Which is what we built the foundation of our other business on. But it was recommended to me that I start contacting bloggers to have my products reviewed. So I would do that, and it's really hard with busy blogs to get in there, although they're the most popular blogs. So right. How does somebody with a product-based business, how do they get a reviewer like yourself or some of your network to review the products? What's the best approach?
What not to do is to email a press release with no personalization at all. A lot of times those get deleted quickly. I need to know why you want your product reviewed on my site. Like, did you look at my site? Do you feel like I'm a good fit for your company? Obviously, like, I'm not going to review a lawnmower. Like, have you looked at my site? Have you read what I do? If it's something that's not family friendly, I will get pitches from companies that are definitely not family friendly. And I'm not going to put that on my site. So I feel like they didn't actually take the time to read my post, to read my About Me section. So definitely I would send an email, calling me Bridgette, or, something. Don't call me like Dear Mommy Blogger. That's, that'll get deleted pretty quick. So I would say take the time to see who you're connecting with, and make sure that the blog is the right fit for you, and then make your email personal.
I love that because you know what surprises me is that you probably do receive a lot of emails like that.
Yeah.
And I just don't understand from a relationship perspective, it doesn't even make any sense to me.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
shocking.
I think sometimes the companies feel like we are traditional media, and they'll send just like a press release like they would to a newspaper or a magazine, and and just pray. I think they call it spray and pray or something like that. Where they'll just send like a million different, send it to every email address they have, and it's very obvious that they haven't even taken the time to see if it would be a fit. So
That's interesting. Like what I did, and I think is a great approach, and correct me if I'm wrong, is I actually went in, I think it's a lot about and I looked at the blogs, and I looked to see, or maybe I found they reviewed something similar to my product. So then that made me go to their site and look at them. And then I looked at what their policy was. And then I looked at their about page because you can figure out who they are.
Right.
And I approached it that way. Would that be a better approach for someone?
absolutely. If you read something simple like reading the About Me page, do they have a child in the age range of your target market? Do they review products that are similar to what you're offering?
So when you get to the level that you are now, because you have a very successful blog, you guys have a couple of different companies. You mentioned Double Duty Divas. We'll talk about that in a little more detail. Do you still review products from the little people? Or, you know what I'm saying? Or, because I know you work with a lot of bigger brands.
Right, I do. But if something catches my eye that I think my daughters would love or my readers would really like to know about, if it's something that I think is revolutionary, of course, absolutely. I still work with smaller companies too.
Terrific. How did you go about getting those bigger brands?
Honestly, they came to me at first. And I think, once you do a good job with one company, with one PR firm, they'll also rep other big brands as well, and they'll recommend you for some different campaigns. So really, like I said, you need to do a good job and follow through with what you say you're going to do, meet your deadlines, and then the referral, word of mouth, networking is very important. Meeting up with brands at blog conferences is huge. If you actually get a chance to meet someone face to face, they're definitely more likely to call upon you when they need something, because they have a relationship with you already,
Now, how important is, I think you met Cecilia at Blog World, if I'm not mistaken.
I blogged her in 2008.
Blog her, I'm sorry, yes. So how important is going to those blogging conventions? How important do you think that is for a blogger in your shoes or for a person with a product?
I think it's extremely important. Like I said, I met my business partner at a blog conference, and we've been able to grow 2 successful businesses out of just a chance meeting at a blog conference. When we met there, we just started talking and realized how much we had in common, and that was really key and is instrumental in what I've been able to do online. Also, being able to meet the brands face to face is so important. They really get a feel for whether or not you align with their goals and their mission when they get a chance to meet you face to face rather than just seeing your blog and reading your writing, which is also important. But they get to know you as a person and see if you're a good fit. And
that goes back to that whole developing relationship things, which is just so important. So right. You guys, we mentioned Double Duty Divas, which is I think it was an awesome thing for you guys as far as networking. Probably really beneficial to those smaller bloggers as well.
Right.
But then you guys took that a step further. So you did the reviewers retreat. So let's talk about that concept, what brought that about, and what it really is.
Sure. Reviewers retreat really was initially just supposed to be a meetup of our blog conference or of our blog network. We ended up growing our network to over 1,200 bloggers, and they actually were asking us, like, hey, we really would like to get together. We'd like to meet each other face to face. We're promoting each other's sites, and we've gotten to know each other online a little bit. We'd love to have a place to connect. So Cecilia and I thought about it, and we said, well, let's do like a small meetup. We started to get that organized, and brands took notice again of what we were doing, and lo and behold, turned into a conference. We was like, maybe we should have a couple of sessions on how to blog better or how to, the best practices in product review blogging. And before we knew it, it turned into a blog conference. And the first year was very successful. We had about 60 or 70 attendees at the time. And this year we grew to about 130, and we're hoping to get a little bit bigger again next year. But we definitely want to keep it more intimate so that the brands that are in attendance and the bloggers get a chance to actually sit down with each other and connect in that way, more so than in a traditional expo hall where you kind of, fly by night. You might get a chance to meet someone, you might not, but they actually have a chance to sit down and connect with each other and start to form actual relationships.
And I think that's terrific. And I also like the fact that you guys build it around moms and families. So you make sure that the venue is family friendly. And I think that your length of your episodes are a little bit longer or short. You have longer breaks in between. So that was mindful. I love that concept.
Yeah, sometimes I know for me in particular, I have a hard time spending our family money on myself, and taking the time to really learn more about blogging and learn more about my craft, I guess, and not leaving the family at home. I feel bad doing that, especially when I was working full-time outside of the home. I felt the time that we had together was precious. So Cecilia and I really wanted to create a conference that we would want to be at, something that we would spend the money to, and go. So we really wanted to create a conference/vacation hybrid, and that we really strive for that, someplace that's family friendly, that's within budget, and we build in time for the families to reconnect during the conference and spend some time together while the blogger gets a chance to still learn and connect with brands.
I think it's fabulous. A wonderful idea. That's because some people don't think about that, and it's important.
Yeah, exactly. And I would love, we get invited to a lot of blog events, and it is hard to leave your family behind, and, sometimes you do it. It's definitely worth it to go and meet the brands. But sometimes it's really great. Like I'm a Pampers ambassador. I sit on their baby board, and a lot of times they will invite our families to come. And that means so much to me that they understand that, that our family time is important too.
That's huge. So let me ask, let's talk about, you guys receive a lot of different products to review from different companies. What are the legalities, formalities you have to do as far as the website's concerned to be able to, in that type of business? I think there's something you have to do. So let's talk about that a bit.
Disclosure is very important. If I receive a product or compensation for a post that I've done, I have to disclose that at the bottom of my post. So every post that I've done that I've received the product in order to, for free, basically, I write it at the bottom, this product was received in order to facilitate this review, but all opinions are still 100% mine, and I'm not being paid for a positive review. I'm being paid for my time and effort to actually do the review, because it's not traditional media. I don't get a salary by sitting here and reviewing these products. So, compensation is definitely a good thing.
So let's talk about that. So until recently, you've worked full-time outside of the home, plus you've done these multiple businesses. So let's talk about salary and monetizing. A lot of people go, it's a lot of time and effort to have a blog and do those things, and I have to make money to feed my family. So let's talk about that subject a bit.
Sure. A lot of times people think that I get the products for free. I've heard that, especially people that don't understand the blogging world, they think that, I'm getting all these great products for free, and how can they do it too? And it must be great to get all these packages at your house. And it is, don't get me wrong. It is a great, form of compensation to receive things at home. But it is a lot of work. I don't just take the product and then play with it and then don't do anything. It takes a lot of time to promote the product, to write the post, to do a giveaway, to pick winners, to contact the winners, to follow up with the PR reps. It can definitely be a full-time job. So some companies that you can do brand ambassadorships, which are usually come with some type of compensation as well. And those, you get to form a deeper relationship with the company, and it's more than just a one-off post about a product, which definitely serves the purpose as well. But I really like to dive deeper into the company and to form a relationship with them and see what I like, and to give feedback, and then have the company potentially make changes, based on advice that they get from their panels. Is really a great feeling to know that you've made a difference.
Right. You know, what I find interesting is I listen, excuse me, I listen to a podcast by the name of Blogcast FM. Srini Rao does this podcast, and it's about bloggers, so they highlight bloggers, but it's also about business and turning that online marketing, etc. But the most interesting thing that he says, and I see as well coming from offline to online, is a lot of bloggers see their blog as a blog. And those that see it as a business usually have a different level of success than those that just see it as a blog. So what's your opinion and take on that?
I think when I started out, obviously I thought of it as just a blog. It was called the Not So Blog. I really didn't expect it to go anywhere, and I didn't understand, that people would actually come and read what I had to say. I thought I was just kind of writing it for fun and called it the Not So Blog for that reason. About a year after that, where opportunities started to come in and I started to take it a little more seriously, I rebranded the site as Experimental Mommy. At that point, I decided that this was a business, and I had a responsibility to my readers to tell the truth and to, showcase what I loved and what we didn't like. And I also had a responsibility to the brand. At that point, when I decided it was a business, more opportunities definitely came in.
Absolutely. And what about branding? And your website, do you do all of that yourself? Is it all WordPress? What type of technology do you use?
My site is on WordPress, but I'm not a designer. So I definitely get help from actually some other mom blogs that are very good at design that help me design the site.
I love that. So you're still using the whole networking thing.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I love that. So yeah. What about let's talk. We've talked about Reviewers Retreat. Do you use video on your site very much?
I do, and that's something I'm really trying to get better at. I feel like a product is great when you show it in video, and I know that's what I looked for when I was looking up strollers. Like I wanted to see the mom fold it. Could you fold it with one hand while you were holding the baby and holding the diaper bag? Could you put it in the car? And the video is so much better than just me typing, yes, it folded easily. So I'm really trying to, especially with products, for example, like strollers, are so much easier to show in video, and I think just really convey your message better. Some bloggers are fabulous at video reviews, and I'm trying to get in that league.
Now, is it hard because it's a new medium for you? You don't like being in front of the camera, the technology? What's the hesitation?
Well, you have to remember that I'm a scientist by trade. I like to be behind a microscope in a lab by myself. So being in front of the camera and being visible is definitely new territory for me. So I think I'm just trying to get used to that and trying to be a little less formal. Like I think when I started my videos where I felt like I needed a script almost, and to make sure I highlighted every last point that I wanted to say, and the videos just didn't seem very natural to me. So I'm trying to get away from, okay, don't write the script, before you turn the camera on. Just do it and tell your readers what you loved. And it doesn't have to be perfect, to show what you're doing.
That's a terrific point. I think just doing it, there's a little bit of fear, and sometimes fear stops us, but you just did it. And that probably the more you do it, the more comfortable you become.
Right. One of the bloggers, the best advice I got was to do it in one take. Doesn't matter what it looks like. Do it in one take. Turn the camera off. You're done. She's like, you said what you needed to say about the product. Don't spend hours. I was finding it was taking me, double and triple the time to do a video than it did just to write about it. So I'm trying to cut down the time it takes by just following her advice and just doing it one take, done.
I think you should listen to her. I think that's terrific advice because, another thing that it does, I read something before. It says, even with blogging, if you go back to read your initial stuff, you probably read it and go, oh my gosh, I was terrible. I can't believe I wrote that.
Right.
But they say, don't get rid of that. Leave it because it shows you, and it's a testimonial of where you've come.
Right. I'm sorry. My phone's ringing.
Oh, that's okay. You need to get it?
I turned it off. No. I just hung up on somebody.
Oops. But yeah, so I think just doing it. And I think people need to see the real side of that, which is why the same thing with these interviews. I like it to be casual because I think people need to. We're human,
right? Exactly.
And what more? Another thing you could do with it is if you're trying to open and close a stroller and you can't, you've got a good bloopers video after that.
Exactly, and I have many of those. Trust me. I think a lot of brands are going towards working with moms. And of course, they still work with celebrities, but that's much more formal. Like when you see a video or a commercial with a celebrity telling you about why they like a product, you're not really sure if they're telling you the truth or, if they're just following the script that they were given. Whereas moms that review the products, I think, are much more honest, and they're showing you with the kids running around the house, and they're showing you how it actually works in their family.
I agree. I think
It's
that's
definitely less formal.
Which is, I think that's what's selling it also, because it's nice to think that everybody's life is so formal and you can have white furniture and beautiful things with your kids around, but it just doesn't happen that way.
No, it doesn't. I'm proof of that.
Exactly. Same here. So let's talk about your use of social media in your business.
Social media for a blog is so important. In order to get the word out, if I write a post and just leave it on my blog, without doing any promotion, I'm not going to get the readership that I had hoped for, and to people to come and really read what I had to say about the product, or about what we made for dinner, or what the kids did at the park. I definitely use social media in that way to promote posts, and also to network. Their brands are all over Twitter and Facebook these days. They're seeing the value in that. So to connect with them, I mean, if you had a complaint, if you went through a drive-through and you didn't like, if you didn't get the meal you were expecting, you can go to Twitter and say, hey, I had an issue, and they'll get back to you. It's, the brands that run their Twitter accounts and Facebook accounts, they will get back to you, which when, 5 years ago, you couldn't do that. If you didn't get what you wanted in the drive-through, it was just like, oh, well, or, you didn't get any resolution to that. So I really enjoy being able to connect with the brands in a very easy way. You don't have to fill out a contact me form, so I definitely see the value in that, in promotion and networking.
And do you use Twitter more? Is that your social platform that you like the best?
It's kind of changing. I used to use Twitter the most, but I'm finding myself moving more towards Facebook. I'm not really sure why, but just lately I'm finding myself more and more on Facebook than on Twitter. And, I also find that a lot of brands have Facebook pages and don't have Twitter accounts. So maybe they're finding that they're gaining more traffic off of Facebook than Twitter. But I'm really also enjoying Pinterest lately. That's my new addiction.
It's like a very serious drug.
Yes, I love it.
Same here. And do you use it for your business?
I do. So I'll pin, different recipes that we've done in order to share them with my readership. And you really reach a whole different audience. It's very visual. So if I have a post that has great pictures, I'll usually pin them to Pinterest. But for the most part, I'm on Pinterest surfing and I see all these other craft ideas and recipes ideas, and you just can't stop pinning. You just do it for hours.
We need some type of program that after a certain period of time, it just shuts it down. You can't see it anymore. It points at you and tells you to go away.
Exactly. No more. You've done enough pinning for one day.
That's right. You've met your pinning limit.
Right.
That's what I need. Well, this has been fabulous. So let's talk about, if you could give someone in your shoes a few years ago the advice, if they're either starting a blog, what advice would you give them? And I think we've already talked about maybe a little bit more about any advice you might give somebody that has products that's wanting to reach the masses of getting their product out there as far as bloggers are concerned. Okay.
I think for a new blogger, one of the main things, which I actually did not do when I started, was to buy your own domain. I started on Blogger, and so I had the notsoblog.blogspot.com. And when I decided to get serious, decided to buy the domain name. But in retrospect, would have done that firsthand. It's not very expensive. If you can, spare a couple of dollars, buy your domain name first, and don't have to go through the hassle of changing it, and later down the road. As far as brands go, my main advice would be to research the blogger before you pick someone to work with your brand. Really look read their About Me page. Do they fit with your brand? Do they have a child in the age range of your target audience? Do they write about the kinds of things that you're promoting? If you need help, I would say to go to a consulting firm like Double Duty Divas. We can help you weed through the bloggers because there are lots, and we can help you find the ones that will fit. So there are several services out there that will do things like that too.
So excuse my ignorance about this, but so a product company can actually contact Double Duty Divas. Not only do you network for the blogs to help the bloggers themselves, but you also can help product companies place them with the correct blogger.
Absolutely. Companies will come to us and say, they want to promote this particular product. They would like it on 20 different blogs, and they want a social media outreach. They want blog posts, reviews, and or giveaways. We also host Twitter parties for companies, and we help them find the bloggers. So we'll basically send out a proposal to our entire network and say, hey, here's a product, who's interested? And then we'll, maybe get, half of them or however many are interested in reviewing that particular product. And then Cecilia and I will go through and weed through the ones that we feel are the best fit.
Perfect. Do you see either of your three of your blog, Double Duty Divas, or Reviewers Retreat? Do you see either one of those growing and being the main source of your time, or is you just going to kind of continue to spread those things out?
Definitely Reviewers Retreat. Planning an event of that magnitude takes up a huge portion of time. We want to make sure that we are creating an event that brands and bloggers can form mutually beneficial relationships. And so Cecilia and I are constantly brainstorming about sessions and partners and speakers and sponsors, and it really is an ongoing process. And so I definitely see as it evolves and it's getting bigger, that is definitely taking up the majority of our time.
So let me ask you this. When you're looking at online marketing, they talk a lot about building an email list and how important it is to have that list. Is it the same thing for a blogger like yourself or a review blogger? Is it the same thing? Is the list that important? Or is it basically your followers that are more important?
The list, I think, is important as far as having contacts. But if we're looking, for example, sponsors for the Reviewers Retreat, Cecilia and I really sit down and think about which ones we think are the best fit for different events that we have at the conference. We never send a blanket pitch and just say, hey, this is an event we're doing, who's interested? Where we actually think first, basically like we, say that the brand should do with the bloggers. We research the brands and see if they would be a good fit for our conference. So our list, while it's important, I'd never use it as like, a blanket list and send the same email to all of the companies that I'm in contact with. Perfect.
Well, if someone wanted to touch base with you, connect, where would be the best place?
You can find me at experimentalmommy.com. You can email me, and that's at notsoblog@gmail.com.
Okay.
And I'm also on Twitter, and it's at Bridgette LA.
Perfect. We will link up your website, both of your other companies you have with Cecilia, and any of your information. This has been wonderful. And how does someone go about? Can anyone become in your network of Double Duty Divas?
Yes, absolutely. You can go to doubledutydivas.com and sign up for our blog network. We do have a couple of requirements to join our review team, but anybody can join our social networking, the network, so that you can start promoting each other and gain new followers that way.
That's fantastic. And the benefit of that, in my opinion, is the networking.
Oh, definitely. It's so important.
It is the way. It's what built, it's the same thing as when you were back in the day, you would go to a local butcher because you liked that butcher and you knew his family. And it's the same thing today. It's just you have to have those networks, I think, to be truly successful.
To be truly successful, networking is so important. Yeah.
Bridgette, this has been terrific. I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, and have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, that's our show, and thanks again for tuning in. Hey, I have a huge favor. I'd like for you to join us over at www.successfulwomentalk.com. Join our email list, and on that list, you'll be a VIP. You'll be receiving all of our newest updates, newest interviews, our newsletter, and any tips and tricks we have for organizing your business and getting raving fans and customers that actually just sing your praises. So again, thanks again for tuning in. Check us out next week for another episode of SuccessfulWomenTalk.com. Thanks, guys.